Let me get your takes on Velus Jones at running back, which, Nick, you made your best. Does anybody really think this is going to work? I open it up to the floor.
Well,
It's good that they're trying. I'll say that. But again, Mark, you highlighted it. They have a lot of guys in the room there too. Like they have 3 guys in front of Velus Jones Jr. And if you're going to be completely honest, what can Velus do at that spot that is better than what they currently have? He does have breakaway speed. I'll give you that, but so does DeAndre Swift. Khalil Herbert's been showing some speed too. So, like, if in terms of trust at that position, like he's new to it. I wouldn't trust Velus Jones Jr. there, but at least he has more of an opportunity to see the field, I think, at the running back spot than he does at wide receivers. There's just too much in front of him right now.
Yeah, so let me turn around, Mark, your question on you with a series of questions. Okay, so one is, when is Velus Jones most dangerous?
Catching a kickoff, but I get what you're saying. With the ball in his hands, is that
with
where
the
you're
ball
going?
in his hands?
Okay,
right.
sure,
Right.
fine. Okay.
And then, so is it what is the easiest way to get the ball in his hands? And that is to hand it to him, right?
Take it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with that in mind, plus the depth chart, what do you think is more likely this year? That they can get Velus Jones dangerous in the passing game or out of the backfield, whether that's handing it directly to him or catching shorter routes, pitches, screens, stuff like that don't involve running deep routes downfield.
Okay, let me turn it around on you. Who is the Bears' 4th wide receiver?
Tyler Scott.
Okay. Who's the Bears' 5th wide receiver?
Probably Colin Johnson right now.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Carter.
Or DeAndre Carter, yeah.
Okay. So we're going to make them 5 and 6?
Yeah.
All right. How many running backs are you keeping on the team?
It's probably 5, including Kari Blasingame.
So are we including Travis Homer?
Yes.
Okay. So where do you think he has a better chance to play? Do you think he has a better chance to get past Homer, Blasingame, Swift, and Herbert? Or does he have a better chance?
I already know where you're going with this. The answer is none of the above. The answer is Velus needs to contribute to the offense, whether he's a running back, a wide receiver, plus kick returner. They just need to have a package of plays for him, regardless of what position he's playing.
Okay, so you're saying, are you hypothesizing that they're going to put him at running back here for a little bit, get him comfortable there, so we can use him there, and then we're going to use him as wide. We'll have him comfortable at wide receiver too, so he can go over there and do that if that's if somehow presents itself, and then we're going to use him as a kick returner. That's his role on the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1,000%. That's most likely his role.
Okay. If you're telling me that they're putting him there just to get him more comfortable because they're planning on handing him the ball off at some point on some gadget play, I'm not going to push back that that's a bad idea.
Well, let me take you back to your own analysis, because we've already talked about him on this show in training camp, and we've talked about how he has gotten carries out of the backfield. And Carm, what have you said about him?
He runs right out of bounds.
Right. So how do you fix that? You make them work with the running backs and actually go through running back drills and do actual drills where you learn how to do the correct footwork, to read what's in front of you and make better decisions than what you're saying. Because I'm not disagreeing with you. I see the same thing. He's just like kind of getting the ball and not really knowing what to do with it. I would also argue with Velus, he is a much better north-south runner than he is east-west. So that's another thing is I want him. I'd much rather see him take one cut and get upfield than running these sweeps to the outside where he's more than likely just going to end up out of bounds.
So, again, I'm not going to push back on he would get better at being a running back by practicing running drills. Obviously, it's not going to hurt him. But we're talking about a real steep learning curve right now. And it just feels unlikely. To me, this is almost like, all right, well, he ain't going to work over there, so let's put him over here, and we're just basically kicking down the can down the road on when we're going to ultimately cut the guy, which is what it feels like. And that's too bad because Velus has elite speed, and Velus, is very light. Yeah,
I totally disagree with you. I still don't think he's getting cut.
I'm not saying now. I think
When are you saying?
I'm saying when his rookie contract is up, that Velus Jones.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a miss by Ryan Pohl. I think, to be completely honest, like if you're drafting him in the 3rd round to be a receiver, like we've seen it. That's just not what he is. It's not what he can be at this level, and that's why they're going this route right now in this week of the preseason, week 2, to potentially try him at running back. And again, Eberflus said this block. We'll see through the Buffalo Bills game to see how that sticks, but ultimately this is going to come down as a miss. It just will, because he's not a receiver. He can't do it at this level.
I guess what I'm just saying is this: I've liked a lot more what he's looked like as a wide receiver this training camp than the prior 2, and I have not seen anybody grab the 4th wide receiver spot or the 5th or the 6th. So I would rather him completely focus on being that guy than trying to somehow turn him into a running back, when that just feels like completely unlikely that he can ever really get there and become some shifty guy out of the backfield and somebody that you would choose giving him the ball to over the options that you have. I would just leave him at receiver, see if you can keep working on and get better.
Yeah, no one's out here trying to make him the number 1 running back. They're trying to, if anything, remember the probably best case scenario is how the Falcons used Cordero Patterson after he left the Bears. And not sure anyone wants to see that scenario where Velus Jones goes to a different team and then all of a sudden is, a fantasy superstar out of nowhere, which is what happened with Cordero Patterson. Probably more likely, you guys remember Ty Montgomery?
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting name to throw out.
Ty Montgomery, the Packers started using him at running back, and he became effective there, but he was never their number 1 running back. I don't think this is Ryan Poles trying to justify his draft pick as much as it's the Bears trying to justify a roster spot for him right now because they know they have a good kick returner. And they might be in a situation where they have to keep both DeAndre Carter and Velus Jones, which isn't all that different from last year when they had to keep a kick returner and a punt returner in Trent Taylor, right? Now, one thing I do think is an upgrade between Trent Taylor and DeAndre Carter is something Carter was talking about when he talked to us the other day, and that was his ability to, in a pinch, Coach Beatty, right, is how we're saying his name, the new wide receivers coach, came over with him they were both on the Chargers together. So they have a relationship there. And they knew that if anybody went down at any given time, Carter could at least fill in all the spots. And that means knowing how to play all 3 wide receiver positions and knowing what routes to run on each play. That's a lot. And that's not going to be Velus Jones. It's just not going to be. He is not going to be the guy that's going to come in and play 3 different wide receiver positions off the bench if somebody goes down in a game. So that adds more value to Carter's spot on this team. And unfortunately, I think there's a situation where they're going to have to keep all of them. And so to enable to justify that, why not have a package of plays? And it might only end up being 3 plays a game where you have Velus Jones Jr. in the backfield.
Yeah, I'm rewinding back to whenever they did it. It felt like they were trying to force the ball into his hands, and he'd gain a yard, and that'd be it. I mean, you're making me go back and look at Patterson's stats here, Hoge. He was running the ball the year after he left the Bears. He was 29 years old at that time. He goes down to Atlanta. He's 30. At that point in time, if I could add it up quickly in my head, he had about 150 carries in his life. He had 153 carries that year for the Falcons and 144 the next year, and he averaged 4 yards a carry and 4.8. In addition to that, he was getting the football as a receiver a ton. He caught 52 balls the year he had 153 carries, and then he caught 21 the next year. Targeted 69 and 39 times respectively. Like if Velus somehow could even turn into half of that, it'd be unbelievable, But that doesn't seem possible for him.
Patterson was a way more polished. I would say a more polished receiver than Velus, and even just naturally how he cuts. Like he just he understands it, and Velus still has ways to go.
Yeah, I just think that this is kind of more of a why not move by the Bears. See what he can do. I was standing there over by UCarm today, and I love when they're doing those drills on field 1 because we get to stand right there, and the running backs are always right there. And, all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, number 12's in here. I'm like, and that's one of those things where you're like, have I missed this on other days? Mm-hmm. Or is this the first time this is happening? Because it's not like you're doing attendance on every single drill and who's doing what. And I was like, I don't think, but regardless, I hadn't seen it. And then it turns out today was the first day, and Matt Eberflus addressed it after practice. So that was cool.
We all silly like the mayor.